Today is Monday, March 9th. My name is Jimmy Colon. This is course LDR 300, instructor Darren Flake, and this is my week 3 leadership and power assignment. So today we're going to go into sort of some of the things about leadership and power, how they work together, what they are. But essentially, we're just going to jump right into it. And so we all recognize that power and influence are essential in order to keep a business going. In order to keep this business going with these essential things, you need leadership and you need power. The two are not synonymous. You can be a leader without having power. In fact, great leaders are typically the ones who influence you and motivate you, and they're not necessarily the ones telling you what to do. Which sort of leadership gives you? It gives you that ability, which lends itself into then the 5 sources where you now have legitimate power. This is power that's kind of granted by the scope of your position and your role and your title. With this type of power, of course, there's reward power, which is self-explanatory. It allows you to reward other people and for behaving appropriately, compliance, following rules, setting a tone, projects, whatever the case may be. But with that, you also get this coercive power, which is the power to punish, which is the one that is most likely abused. It's typically the one where people show their holes, because a good leader shouldn't really need that coercive power. They should be able to get their best out of their people without some form of punishment. I personally tend to like expert power. I love my subject matter experts. I love being a subject matter expert. I think that when you're working on a project, specifically one that pertains to your field or your industry, it's really essential to kind of have these kind of people around. And then, of course, there's just sort of like those people that have the charismatic behavior, that natural referent power, which creates leaders on its own. I feel like when people are gifted with this referent power, it's very, very easy for them to come and just move in, and then also now have a legitimate power as well, because they'll typically find themselves funneling up in that direction. I do think that, power is necessary for leadership. But I think also too, these are things that people have in them. I mean, again, if you can have that charisma, if you have that charisma to you, then, it would naturally make sense that you will fall into a role of leadership and be seen as a leader. Typically, you can have influence over the behavior of other people. You can typically tend to use that leverage to dictate policy a little more, because you are adding some of those more personal effects to it. And I definitely think that, you have to have a good relationship between your leaders and your staff. I mean, you can sort of use that punishment type of power to get your way, but in reality, you're not really coercing anyone. So the name of that power is actually misleading, because you're not really coercing anything, you're forcing people. And that's something that you don't want to do. I mean, in my opinion, it's really the expert power and the referent power is how you really get people to follow you. If they believe in who you are as a person and they believe in your skills and ability, then it's a lot easier for them to fall in line and sort of go with the status quo of what you're trying to push. Good leaders feel motivated, or rather good staff feel motivated by their leaders. And so that's kind of what you want. You don't really want someone to be afraid of you. Is a person who's giving you their best work come from fear? No. In fact, I feel it's quite the opposite. You get your best work out of people who genuinely believe in you, who follow you, who trust you, and who know you have their best interests at heart. So again, just to kind of reiterate, I understand there are different types of power. I personally believe in expert power and referent power the most. These relationships are necessary to get the best out of your staff, and when you get the best out of your staff, they inherently kind of just take care of the situation on their own. I believe it was the CEO of Virgin who said he didn't really believe in taking care of the customer. He believed in taking care of his staff, because if the staff were taken care of, they would inherently take care of the customer, in turn generating better return business for him and the rest of his employees, who in turn would benefit from expanded benefits and growth and all of these things. So I think it's very, very important to know that, having power does relate to leadership, but good leaders don't need to necessarily have power. We already know that there are different types of power, but to me, again, personally, the ones that involve charisma and skill are usually the ones that are most important. It's also necessary to have like this sort of influential role as a leader with your staff in order to gain the most out of your company. Thank you.